Alright, so we're going to start off here by making the front board, the part everyone will see. So I'm cutting down this piece of scrap board that I got from a shelf, and you can really use whatever you want to use, but I'm not trying to go to the store, so I'm just going to use this. Cut it down to about 7.5 inches. It really doesn't matter, but it just helps to get it a little smaller so when you're working with it on the bandsaw, it's easier to turn. Then I'm using some spray adhesive here to stick my image down to this board and have it act as a template for when I'm cutting it out on the bandsaw. Alright, so now that I have that image stuck down on the board, I can use it as a template and cut out the shape whatever shape I want on the board. I chose to do the state of Michigan, however you can do really whatever state, shape, whatever you really want to do. Starting off by trimming around the edges and just getting all the bigger chunks off first. Then I'm going to go back in and do a series of relief cuts just so that my blade can fit into those tinier areas. So now I'm done on the bandsaw. I'm just going to smooth out and clean up all the edges that the bandsaw couldn't get. I'm just going to use this Dremel here and clean it up as good as I can. Alright, so now that I'm done with the Dremel, I'm going to start off with some 60 grit sandpaper here and start smoothing out the edges. And then I'm going to finish off with some 150 grit. Alright, so now that I'm done with the front board, I'm going to work on cutting out the back board and the spacers that go in between the two. So I'm working on the back board here. It really isn't too complicated of a part. All it is composed of another board that is a couple inches wider on each side than your front board, just so it sticks out and you have something to hang on the wall. Alright, now for the spacers, I just hacked off two corners of a board. Then I took those triangles and hacked off the corners of the triangles. And then I drilled two holes through them, which allowed the screws to go through them without putting any pressure on them and splitting them. And I covered them in a dark stain just so that they'd hide nicely right behind the front board. So I then went and found the center of my backboard and placed my spacers out where I want them to go and kind of marked up where the screws are going to go and pre-drilled them so they didn't split my board. So I then proceeded to countersink those screws so they'd lay flush with the back of the board, as you can see here. I then started to put the screws in and line up the spacers so they'd fit right on there on the screws. And then I put the screws all the way through the spacers and the backboard. But you're only really going to want that screw point to stick out probably a 16th or an eighth of an inch out past that spacer. And this will allow you to actually put that faceplate the down on top of it, and you actually can see here I'll press down on that faceplate, and this will make little indentions in the back where you need to pre-drill so that your screw won't split that faceplate when you go to screw all the way in. So then I finished it up by drilling a hole in it and putting a pin in there to secure the beard, and then putting 2 screws in each of the legs so that they're secure, and putting actually some picture frame wire on there so you can put it on the wall, and that's the finished product.